Hello all, it's Ruthie. Excuse any strange bumps and bangs. It is not some ghost or something. It's Mum making dinner and the kitchen happens to be above this area. So if you hear strange sounds, that's what it is. I just came on here to tell you something quite interesting because I believe in miracles and I believe in answered prayers. But I had something happen last week that I don't think reaches the threshold of a miracle, and it's certainly not an answered prayer because I didn't mention it to God. But I still find it quite interesting and I find it quite encouraging, and I thought maybe it would encourage you too. So, as you know, I'm a writer and I have been trying to do a lot more reading this year because I used to read a lot and gradually it sort of dropped off. And this year I made this determined decision. I must read more. And one of the areas I'm really focusing on is English literature. And I said to Mum about 2 weeks ago, I said, I really must know more about the Inklings. This was a group at Oxford, and it had C.S. Lewis and it had Tolkien and it had a few other really prominent English writers in it. And I said, that's a group I would really like to know more about. I think that's an area where I could do with, I could just do with having a bit more knowledge because, it's a big part of English literature and, I want to know more about it. So she and Dad went camping, I think a couple of weeks ago, and they invited me and I was like, no, I hate camping. But when Mum came home, she came in and she said, I've got a present for you. And she had this book called The Inklings, and she said she had walked into it sounds like Mum's coming down the stairs, so she might just, Mum, I'm actually filming. Yeah, I don't mind if she pops in, but she gets really embarrassed at you. So just tell her. So she came in with this book called The Inklings, and she said they stopped off at a thrift store either on the way to the camping site or the way back, and front and centre of the book display was a book called The Inklings, the subject. And she said, I remembered you said that was something you wanted to know more about, so she said, I picked up the book for you. I thought that was a really kind, nice thing, and I was very grateful for it. And I don't even know if the book's still in print, and as you can see, it's falling to bits, but it's a really good book and I'm really enjoying it. Sometimes the books that fall to bits are the ones worth reading. Now that is possibly a coincidence, possibly. But what happened next I don't think is a coincidence, because I was reading this book and I was reading about Tolkien, and he did not like a writer by the name of T.S. Elliot. And I thought to myself, now I did not mention this to anyone. I thought, oh, okay, that's interesting. I'll definitely make a note. I need to read something by T.S. Elliot. I haven't come across that name before. I need to make a note of reading something by T.S. Elliot. And I then forgot about it. And then I had to do an illustration. And I really like to listen to something when I'm painting. Otherwise, I get awfully bored. And I usually listen to a podcast or an audiobook or something, but this particular day, and I hadn't told anyone about this decision that I needed to read something by T.S. Eliot, I suddenly had pop into my head, oh, I should see what's on Marian Gradko's YouTube channel, because Marian is a friend of mine who is an actress and she has a YouTube channel and she does literary readings, and I love her stuff, and I hadn't been on her channel for a while, so it just pinged into my head, oh, I want to listen to something good. I should see what Marian's done. So I haven't been on that channel for absolutely ages. I go on Marian's channel, and the first thing I see is her, Marian Gradko, and someone she collaborates with a lot. He's really good as well, Roger Hendricks Simon. And they've got a reading of The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot, front and centre on the YouTube. So I listened to that. And I bring this up because I know that these sound like total coincidences, and you almost could brush them off as coincidences because, like I say, they don't reach the threshold of a miracle. It's not really a miracle that Mum walked into a thrift store and found a book on the subject I wanted a book on. It's certainly not an answered prayer because I hadn't mentioned it to God. And I suppose it's not extraordinarily odd that a couple of very talented actors would do a famous book as a reading and then they would upload it to YouTube. That's not particularly strange either. what I find interesting is that I wanted a book on the Inklings, and it turned up. It turned up the next week. And then, because I was reading the book on the Inklings, I wanted to read something by another author, T.S. Elliot, and I hadn't got round to tracking down a book or whatever. And then on the very, I just randomly happened to go on this YouTube, and you could say, oh yes, but it's your friend. Well, I think that sort of enhances it, because I would rather listen to Marian and Roger read that book than anyone. It's not even close. It was such a good reading. It was so good. It was so good. Actually, at points, it was quite creepy. That's how good it was. But really wonderful reading of it. And I strongly recommend you check it out, by the way, over on Marian Grudko's YouTube channel. And I'll see if YouTube will let me pop a link down the bottom. I will say this. I do think it's probably, like, if I was raising children and I had little children, I probably would keep that one for when they're in bed. Not because it's rude or anything, just because it's quite intense, it's quite dark, and I think, oh my gosh, it scared me at times, so I don't know that I'd play it for an 8-year-old, but it's, you know, it's a classic and it's particularly well read. But I bring this up because I think in life, I believe in miracles and I believe in answered prayer, but I think too there's something else, and I don't know what to call it. Maybe threads of the divine or something, but you know, you just realize when you look at things just coming together in your life that God is listening and he's paying attention, and sometimes you don't even need to mention something as a prayer. It just turns up. And sometimes that thing leads to another thing, and suddenly you see this little pattern. And it's actually like God is just listening to you, and he's saying, yes, you're on the right track. Well done. I'm helping you. And it's a nice feeling. So, I think let's be sensitive. When we see little things coming together in our life, let's not suck the wonder out of life by calling it a coincidence. Let's consider the idea it might be the divine finger of God giving us help. So, yeah, look for wonderful things in life, the big miracles, the answered prayers, and also the little divine threads that keep everything tied together and connected. And in the meantime, remember to check out Marian Grudko's YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. Bye. Oh, and I just forgot. You know how I said I think the Wasteland's a bit heavy for children? Well, that's not to say that Marian doesn't have stuff that's good for children. You need to check out her readings of her book Claudine and Lucinda Snowdrop. She even does the music. It's beautiful. And her reading of Jemima Paddle Duck. Jemima Paddle Duck. Oh my gosh, that's one of my favourite books and I can't even say it. Her reading of Jemima Paddle Duck, which she's also composed music for. Those are absolutely gorgeous. I think they would make any small child happy. So if you are raising small children, but you still want to kind of keep your mind all agile, by all means, listen to the reading of, oh gosh, I've forgotten his name now. It's my piece of paper. T.S. Elliot for the evening when they're in bed, but don't forget the little ones, and make sure that you pop Marian's readings of children's books on, because they're really wonderful. And who knows, if enough of you watch, maybe she'll feel the pressure and put even more up. Ooh, yes, my cunning plan is afoot.